Hi there, Coach Sage Canday of SageRunning.com here with another training tech. Today we're going to talk about how to run a sub 240 marathon. And these tips are, you can apply them to trying to run a sub 3 hour marathon as well. This is a very advanced version, obviously very fast time. Definitely requires some natural ability and talent in a time that is tough to run. But if you go to the Boston Marathon or something like that, there are quite a few people running 240, sub 240 marathons. It may be an ultimate goal, time goal. But yeah, it's 6:06 per mile pace, about 247 or 347 per kilometer pace is race pace, and it requires a lot of dedication. What you see with maximizing your potential in the marathon and the people that run sub 240 marathons is they generally have to have a couple things in place. Being able to average consistently high mileage certainly helps, especially if you're not the most talented. You do require some talent though. Durability is a talent. And having the time and resources to train and sustain consistently high mileage, usually for years at a time, if not big strings of months at a time. You can be inconsistent with your aerobic mileage base and leg strength, and that comes from high mileage. So whether it's people running 60 or 70 miles per week, or 80 kilometers, 90 kilometers per week, or much more than that, over 100 miles per week, 160 kilometers per week, it's the kind of volume that's going to take a lot of people to hit this kind of time, or just to maximize their potential in the marathons. But like I said, it's a very fast time, 6:06 mile pace, 347 per kilometer. Definitely not a walk in the park. And the differences we see, because I've done other, Boston qualifying time, marathon training talks, how to improve your marathon. The difference you see with sub 240 marathon runners versus like 340 marathon runners is just because seconds become tighter. Seconds become more precious when you're in the lower mid 2 hour range or low 2 hour range. So 5 or 10 seconds a mile to a 4 hour marathoner might not feel as much of a difference in pace, but to someone running 235, that's a huge pace change and could really make or break your race. So it could be the difference between crossing your threshold or not, or bonking, running out of glycogen, slowing exponentially. But with the mileage base, you're getting in a lot of easy pace miles. So yeah, as I was saying, eat a lot of easy pace mileage to build your volume up so you don't get hurt in low intensity heart rate ranges. So maybe you're running 730 per mile pace, even as slow as 5 minutes per kilometer type of pace in your build up to ascend to full volume and get that kind of consistent volume in without getting hurt. That requires a lot of flexibility with your time, probably, as well as eating right, sleeping right, things like that. But then, prerequisites, you're gonna have to have a half marathon PR under 120, or at least have that fitness probably closer to 116 or 115 for the half to be able to put two 119s back to back and run sub 240. So maybe you're coming off a half marathon race, took a little break, build your mileage up with easy mileage for a month, then you launch into a 16-week structured marathon specific program where you're doing what I call extension workouts. Renato Canova call extension workouts, and Jack Daniels, I call them that too, Pete Fitzinger. Those are big coaches that influence my marathon training, as well as looking at guys like Deke, great marathoner from Australia. But yeah, high mileage is king for distance races and marathons, and you do what you can with the time you have and the body you have. But just stay relaxed first before you add in the quality workouts. All right, so for quality marathon specific workouts, maybe it's only 20% of your weekly volume. It will vary in the 16-week block specific training cycle. But yeah, a lot of it, the vast majority of quality workouts are going to be slightly slower than marathon race pace and slightly faster than marathon race pace. So we're looking at 92% of marathon speed, 95% of marathon speed to 105, 108% of marathon speed velocity. So what you're looking at, you can crunch the numbers on this, but a threshold pace of about 5:48 per mile or 3:36 per kilometer. This would be your lactate threshold, what you could sustain in an all-out hour-long race. And when you start accumulating lactate exponentially faster, clearance becomes a problem. So you're working to get that threshold there. So if your threshold is there, if that's 85% max heart rate value, something you could hold for a race, you slow that down to 6:06 per mile pace, or 3:47 per kilometer pace. You could hopefully sustain that for the entire marathon without totally bonking, have to take in carbs probably, but not accumulating too much lactic acid or breathing over 88-90% of max heart rate. You keep that in control for most of the marathon race. So, you start off with tempo repeats, long repeats, 2K, 3K, 5K repeats. Eventually you need to be able to do high volume or something like that. So, 3 by 5K be an ultimate workout, or 2 by 8K, 2 by 10K at that kind of pace later on in a training cycle. But maybe you're starting off with up-tempo workouts. And this is in all of our sagerunning.com plans, up-tempo being slightly slower than marathon pace for most people. So maybe you're doing workouts early on at 6:15, 6:20, or about 4 minutes per kilometer pace, not even marathon pace. You're doing these 30, 40, 50-minute up-tempo runs, nice and relaxed, getting good biomechanics, good aerobic system, fat burning, things like that. Those are going to be key workouts as well. Then the icing on the cake is economy, developing your speed, your efficiency closer to what we call VO2 max. It's not really a VO2 max stimulus to get the heart rate up to 100% maximum, increase stroke volume. It's more about getting the legs used to a higher power, fast turnover, over 180 steps per minute probably for most people, getting in more stride length. So you're running these closer to 10K, even 5K pace. Maybe you're doing 8 by a kilometer, or you're doing even down to 5K pace, some 400s, 12 by 400, 16 by 400, to get that leg power, leg strength, to make velocity, your pace at lactate threshold, and marathon race pace feel more comfortable and hopefully be more efficient. Efficiency is the name of the game, but this is all supported by high mileage training. So those VO2 max workouts, maybe you're going down to 520 per mile pace, right? To 40 per 800 meter repeats, or under 320 per kilometer, 317, 315 per kilometer types of repeats when you're getting in that kind of shape. All right, so the final key is going to be high quality long runs. And in our sagerunning.com training schedules, we have mixed variation long run workouts. It's not just going out and running 20 miles steady all the time. It is sometimes, but you got to run probably up to 22 miles or 37, 38 kilometers in some long runs to kind of scrape up against the wall and get low on glycogen stores, do strategic fueling so you can get used to what it's going to be like in the race. And it's going to require some marathon pace running deep into a long run. 15 miles in, half marathon into a long run, you're throwing down close to marathon pace to get the legs used to running that pace when they're tired, because that's what will happen in the race, as well as doing fartleks, timed fartleks, distance or time. They're pretty structured fartlek. You could call those structured intervals, but within the context of a long run, you're mixing in these faster pace running. And the difference with a sub 240 marathoner versus a 340 marathoner is it's generally harder to run longer periods of time at marathon goal pace, just because of the nature of the increased velocity. The other nature is that if your half marathon time is 1:15 or so, it's close to an hour, relatively close to an hour. And your half marathon pace actually becomes very close to your lactate threshold pace. Whereas for a slower runner, say a 1:45 half marathon runner, maybe their lactate threshold pace is actually closer to their 10K race pace. So it's another another difference. The muscular stress is also kind of exponential as well. So you're at a greater risk for injury with increased higher mileage. You're at greater risk for injury with impact force from running at higher velocities. Now, you gotta be resistant to injury. You gotta be really lucky with having the time and resources to train at this level. It's something I realize is a very rare, unique opportunity for people, and it's something that requires a lot of support and some luck with genetics as well to run a sub 240 marathon. But that's kind of just the backbone of this plans. Again, we're gonna come out with more marathon specific training plans at sagerunning.com. Boston, people preparing for Boston could check out our website as well. Specific plans for prepping for Boston, races like that, as well as ultra marathon plans, any service, any distance. Thanks so much for subscribing. Thumbs up if you like these types of videos. Stay tuned for more Sage Running videos.